Hi, I'm Chef Frank, this is Proto Cooks, and today we're gonna poach eggs. Poached eggs, what are they? Eggs that we cook in simmering water with a little salt and vinegar in it. It's really that simple. These are eggs that we use for Eggs Benedict. You can do it on an asparagus salad. You can do it on a frisee salad with bacon. And it's something that you can use for parties, serve a lot of people in a short amount of time. Most people don't poach because they think it's really difficult. And what we're gonna do today is show you that it's not. It's actually really easy, simple to do, and it doesn't take a lot of time or ingredients. So here are our ingredients. Eggs, right? Salt, distilled vinegar. I have a couple of serving bowls here or ingredient bowls here that we're gonna use to crack the eggs in. A spoon to taste, and a nice perforated or slotted spoon. You should have something similar to this so that the liquid can drip out. Let's talk about the eggs and the vinegar, and then we'll move on to cooking. Vinegar. You can see that I'm using distilled vinegar in a gallon jug. That's the one you want to use. Can you use fancier vinegar? Absolutely, you can use fancier vinegar. But you don't need anything more than this. This tends to have a little more acid than your, red wine vinegar, champagne vinegar, or white wine vinegar, and it's cheap. When we're done with this liquid, we're throwing it away. So get the cheapest distilled white vinegar you can. And I know I'm gonna get comments, so can I use other vinegars? Absolutely. But you're gonna throw it away and it's kind of a waste of money. So get the cheapest distilled white vinegar you can. It works perfectly. And if you spend any more than, this is $1 on a gallon, then you're wasting your money. I use kosher salt as well, and eggs, you can use any eggs that you want. So let's poach some eggs. First thing we're gonna do to poach these eggs is get our water ready. And like I was saying, we want this to be simmering not at a full boil, because what happens if you do this at a full boil, the eggs are going to break up and they're not going to have a nice uniform shape. So I have my water on and I'm going to get it just below the boil. So boiling in Fahrenheit is 212. I'll put the Celsius measure in the description. And we want it to be about 180, 190 degrees. So not at a boil at all. There's a lot of different methods here that chefs use. They do a vortex. I like my water to be still. So let's season the water and get it going, and then we'll talk more about method. So I have my distilled vinegar, and I'm gonna put that just straight into my water. I had a cup there. I probably have about 2 quarts of water in my pot or my pan, and I'm gonna add some salt. And a fair amount of salt. Remember, we're seasoning our eggs here. Give it a stir. And the worst thing ever is you get to taste this salty, vinegary water. Okay, it should be vinegary. It should have some seasoning to it, right? You should taste acid, because what that acid is gonna do is when you add your eggs into the water, it's gonna help coagulate that white. I think it needs a little more salt, because remember, like I said just before, we're going to be seasoning our eggs. Give it a stir. Okay, I'm looking for it to be vinegary. I'm looking to have a little saltiness to it. It doesn't taste good by itself. It's not supposed to. It's just basically there to help us cook our eggs. So, you'll notice a couple other things. I'm gonna get rid of my vinegar, put it aside. I have 2 bowls here, and the bowls are there to crack my eggs into so that I can drop them into the water. You can do this, just crack the egg and drop it in, but you just don't get as nice of a form. The egg doesn't form all that well. It gets kind of wispy and it doesn't kind of sit. You want to be delicate with this when you drop the eggs into the salted and vinegared water. The other thing is, if you notice, I have a pan here that is shallow. It's a sautoir. It has high sides. It's not a saute pan. It's a high-sided saute pan. We call it a sautoir. And you notice that I have it just up to the bolt. It's not full all the way. I want my eggs to submerge, but I don't want them to drop so far into the pot that when I get in there, I really have to reach down. That's why you don't use a high-sided pot, because it's really hard to retrieve the eggs afterwards. So I use a low-sided pot or pan, and I don't fill it up all the way. In the restaurant industry, we use rondeaus, which are wide pans that are really shallow, because you can cook a lot of eggs in it. And in this pan, we could probably cook 10, 15 eggs at a time. So like I said earlier, this is great for parties. My water is bubbling away. I don't want this to come to a full rolling boil, and we're gonna poach these eggs. Okay, so let's poach these eggs. My water is just kind of bubbling lightly. It's slowly moving. It's not boiling away. And I'm gonna take my eggs, crack them into my bowl. Make sure you don't crack the yolk, because nothing's worse than a cracked yolk in a poached egg. So we've cracked our eggs into the bowls, and what's happening is we're gonna drop these in. So what I do is I take my egg in the bowl, I hold it like this, because it's easier to drop in. I get my bowl down close to the water, and I lightly just slide that in. So you can see when I slide it in, it doesn't stick. I don't have a lot of white, wispy yolk, white, floating around. So I'm as gentle as possible, and I'm kind of sliding it in there so that it stays nice and tight, and it doesn't kind of get all flowy and go all over the place. So you can see now, here's the key. Leave it alone. Most people start to get nervous at this point, and they start fidgeting with it. Don't fidget with it. Let the egg sit there. My water is lightly bubbling away. I'm at about 200 degrees, maybe 190 degrees, and I'm waiting for the white to set. And what happens is the proteins in the white will start to bind up and come together and set that white. And that's what we want. I want a nice set white and a yolk that is very, very runny. That's the key to a really good poached egg. And you can see my eggs have pretty much come together. There's not a lot of little white floating around, and my water is barely moving. I'm gonna turn it up just a little. So I'm just gonna leave it be. If you have to, you can always move these around and push them lightly. But what I'm waiting for is that white to set. And the way that I test for that is I'm gonna put the spoon under it and lift it lightly. And you'll see, if the white is set, it'll hold together. If you lift the white out of the egg out of the water, the white starts to split. You start to see it's kind of like green or translucent in there. It's not set white, and the egg is not ready yet. Just drop it back in and leave it alone. So what happens if you drop your egg in there and it's all over the place? What I would do is I would just leave it, let it cook. It's still good to eat. It's not something that's gonna look pretty on the plate, and the whole idea with poaching here is that we want it to be pretty on the plate. So you can save that egg and eat it. Don't necessarily throw it away. It just might not look all that good on the plate. If you can salvage it and cover it with sauce, go for it. But we really want these just to look nice on the plate. So they're only gonna take about 2 or 3 minutes. And you can see, if I lift it out of the water right now, you can see that the white isn't set. It's still very clear in there. So I'm gonna leave it alone and let it be. Now, like I said earlier, a lot of chefs have different methods to do this. I've seen chefs crack the egg onto a solid spoon and drop them in. I've seen chefs do a swirl and a vortex. There's tons of different methods for this. This just happens to be the method that I prefer. Try a bunch of different methods, see which one you like. But this happens to be the method that works best for me. So our eggs are getting close. They're only gonna be in there for about 2 to 3 minutes. And like I said, I want the white to be set and the yolk to be really runny. You might ask, why would I want a poached egg? It's watered down or wet eggs. This is a delicate egg. This is something that you're going to use on a salad, on delicate dishes like Eggs Benedict, asparagus salads. It's kind of delicate. And when you're frying eggs, it's harder to do a bunch of eggs at one time. When you're poaching them, it's really easy to do. And it yields this really nice, flavorful, delicate egg at the end. So that's why you might want to use these on things, like even if you just poach an egg for your egg sandwich, or if you're a Gen Zer, your avocado toast. But yeah, these are things that it's a little more delicate. It has a nice soft yolk, and it's just delicious. So I think we're good to go now. And what I'm gonna do is poke at it. My yolk is looking good. Oh yeah, look at that. So what you're gonna do is take your towel, right? This is the opportunity to get any sort of wispy pieces off. You can use your towel to trim them. And you also want to get all of the water off. Okay, I'm gonna slide this onto a plate. Nothing worse than getting an Eggs Benedict that has a lot of water on it. It's gross, it should not be wet. This should not be getting your English muffin wet. So there we go. 2 poached eggs. I think they're beautifully poached. Let me shut my power off here. Oh, look at that. So, a beautifully set white. My yolk is runny. Perfect poached egg. Let's give it a taste. It's seasoned lightly. The yolk is super creamy. The white is just set. And that is a perfect poached egg. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have a lot more basic videos coming out. If you do, like, subscribe, leave me a comment. I love hearing people's comments. I have an Instagram account. It's @ProtoCooks. Check me out there. You'll see some stories and things that I do on a regular basis every day, things that I'm testing for the channel, or that even if things I'm just eating or things that I buy for my kitchen. So check that out. Thank you for watching. I'm Chef Frank. This is Proto Cooks. Happy poaching.